Welcome to Bet On It. It is NFL Week 5. I am Kelly Stewart. Let's bring in my guys. That's right. We got Gianni Corrales and Marco D'Angelo, and we are going to talk all things NFL. We're going to start off with these primetime games. Thursday night, the Rams at Seattle. Look, I'm going to be honest with you guys. These divisional type games, I'd love to take the dog. I don't know if I'm going to be taking Seattle this week plus the points, but what I am going to be doing is putting them in a teaser. Now, this isn't normally our teaser segment, but this week has a lot of really great teaser opportunities, so you're going to hear me talk about that one. Marco, I'm going to start with you. LA, 2.5. Seattle. Seattle's shown some moments of greatness this year and fallen flat on their face in a few others. What do we see from the Seahawks on Thursday night?
Well, Kelly, the last two Thursday nights, I've used the Thursday night game as part of my teaser. Not getting to the window on the teaser this week with this one because I like the Rams in this game. And the one thing about this is, yeah, it is a division game and it is a home dog. So you like, and it is at that magical number that you tease up through all the key numbers. They're plus 2.5. But I like the Rams here. And last week I had a big play against the Rams on Arizona for my clients. And for all the reasons I went against them last week, now I'm going to go with them this week. I thought they were a little fat and sassy going into that game against Arizona last week, as they were, as we like to use the term, the flavor of the week after beating Tampa the week before. They got it handed to them by the Arizona Cardinals. Now, this is a division game. It's important, obviously, for both teams. But I look at Seattle, and you know what? This is not the Legion of Doom anymore as far as defense goes. They've been giving up some big numbers defensively. And if you look at the passing yards, they've allowed over 300 yards passing 3 weeks in a row, Seattle. And that was against Tennessee, Ryan Tannehill, Minnesota, Kirk Cousins. And then last week, Jimmy Garoppolo, who got hurt, and then they brought in Trey Lance. So it's not exactly the marquee names as far as the quarterbacks go. And we're going to get Matthew Stafford here coming off his first loss with the Rams. I think you're going to see a big game from him. Seattle, always dangerous with Russell Wilson, but they just can't run the football at all without Russell taking off. I think they get this win here. I'm going to take them. I'll go with the Rams to get the job done in the bounce back mode. And this is one of those ones where you're laying under the field goal. Do you want to lay the small number minus 2.5, or do you want to go to the money line? I think you're going to see a lot of people that will want to take Seattle. Look at that money line, and if you can grab a 130, 135, that would probably be the better way to go than laying the 2.5. VR might have something more to say on that, but I'm on the Rams minus 2.5.
VR, Marco makes a compelling argument for the Rams in a bounce back situation here, which makes me a little nervous. Yes, of course, that Seattle defense is suspect. But hey, this Rams team showed some vulnerabilities. Do you think Russell Wilson can exploit those?
Yeah, first off, touch on the teaser. This falls under the one teaser. We've talked about it all season. We put out more than one video, I think, that breaks it down for you. And it's pretty much been undefeated, I think, this season. Definitely been profitable. And Seattle, where it sits right now, falls under that. Now, with all that said, the reason I bring that up is we'll talk about it in the teaser section later. I get a lot of questions about why aren't you teasing this team that's a 7-point favorite? All they have to do is win. We'll get to that later. So I do think there's value on teasing Seattle. Obviously, the negative is it's a high total, and sharp money on the over, myself included. In fact, let's end the suspense. I bet the over 54.5 as a 3% play. And it's as square as it comes, but it just makes sense because Marco nailed it. They're going to be forced to throw the football, these two teams. And they're both going to have some success throwing the football. I mean, both these offenses are going to score. And it's not a low total. It's not that high by accident. And if you look at the series between these two, in fact, where it sits right now, it's only a half a point behind the high. It's the second highest total in their last 10 games in the series between the two. So it's a high number for this market. It's not as if, as square as it appears, it's still a big number we got to go over. 55 points to cash that ticket is a lot of points, especially against a Seattle team, which is coming off back-to-back unders. But I think those finals were a little bit misleading. So, I like the over, but I bet the side as well. And here's the contradiction where I said the value on the teasers on Seattle, I bet the Rams. Let me just confirm right now how I gave it out. Yeah, I bet the Rams, I gave them out on the money line at minus 135. And I think I would still go that route instead of even laying the 2.5. Here's why. I think there's a higher likelihood it gets to 3. And if you have a money line ticket of 130 in your pocket and a game goes off at minus 3, rest assured you have a great bet in your pocket, win or lose. So for me, that's my goal, to get my subscribers in a position where they have a good bet. What's going to happen is going to happen. Remember, you can't control the outcome. 3 things we control as bettors: plan your bet your plan, manage your risk. That's it. Everything else has to take care of itself. So with all that said, I think the Rams are the better team. Obviously, that's why they're on the road favorites. I think it's warranted. And it puts the books in a tough position because you can't make them greater than a field goal favorite on the road in Seattle, obviously. So that's where a spot like this gives us bettors some value because, again, the book's job is to manage risk, not to predict outcomes. We know historically they're a little more than 10 points off. I mean, the best measure we have is Pinnacle's closing line because they take the most action and it's the most accurate reflection of implied win probability, that closing number. And it's still 10.2 points off in the NFL. So for me, this is where it's one of those spots where to manage risk, the books are forced to make this number lower than I think it ultimately should be. And even the metrics line up nicely with the Rams. They are nowhere at a disadvantage. And more importantly, I think on the defensive side of the ball, especially their pass defense, they have the advantage. So for me, give me the Rams. I'll lay the small. I took the money line instead of laying the small spot. It's on you what you're going to do. Great. I don't know. Again, we don't grade the TV games, but I did bet the Rams and I did bet the over.
All right, another primetime game and another teaser spot for me. Sunday Night Football, the Buffalo Bills, 2.5-point underdogs at the Kansas City Chiefs. This just, when it first came out, I said, I got to tease the Bills. This looks so enticing to take the Chiefs. Like that, just such a short little line. They finally, had a nice bounce back game over Philly last week. Marco, what are you thinking about this one? Or is this a teaser spot I can get you on board with? Or are you looking at the short favorite again?
No, I'm going with Buffalo in this one. And yes, this is the teaser play. And simply put, we'll be talking about that in a little bit when we get to the teaser section. But I'm also taking Buffalo plus the 2.5 in this one. Kelly, we talk about revenge all the time. And I say it's the most overused word in sports betting because every game that's played previous, there's somebody that has revenge in the next one. Well, they're not all getting revenge, but there are certain games that sting a little more, and there's none more than the game that ended your season. And last year, the game that ended Buffalo's season was against Kansas City in the playoffs. And we talk about it. There's this, a learning process. Teams don't just come out of nowhere and win a Super Bowl generally. When you have a young up-and-coming team, it's a stepping stone. Well, last year was the stepping stone for Buffalo. They got to the playoffs. They won a game, and then, play another game. This is where now they'll make that next step. And to make that next step, they got to beat a team like Kansas City. And right now, if you've watched the Kansas City Chiefs, yes, they got the job done last week. And although I didn't use Kansas City, the radio shows and such that I do, I said you have to lean to Kansas City, even though the defense is bad, because they're playing a team, Philadelphia, that I didn't think had an offense that could keep up with them. They would have to settle for field goals somewhere along the line where Kansas City was scoring touchdowns. Well, you know what? That Philadelphia team last week scored a lot of points. They scored 30 points on this Kansas City defense, and they put up 461 yards. That's a lot against this Kansas City team for Philadelphia to do. What can Buffalo do? I'm taking Buffalo plus the points, taking Buffalo in a teaser. And you know what? If they get blown out, I'll be shuffling off to Buffalo with a pile of losing tickets Sunday night. But I got Buffalo in this one.
I like Buffalo as well, Marco. VR, we were speaking in the college show about false rankings, right? Now, the NFL doesn't do a top 5 or anything like that, but handicappers do. And that's the interesting thought on this game here. Now, I know Kansas City has a stout home field advantage. I've been there several times. Arrowhead gets to rocking, but I thought this line should have been closer to a pick 'em. A lot of guys that are kind enough to share their power ratings with me have Buffalo either 3 or 4 and Kansas City either 5 or 6. Where do you have Buffalo and Kansas City in your power ratings, and who are you betting on this game?
They reflect mine exactly. And here's the trouble I'm having. I've been slowly, and I think everyone else has, bringing Kansas City down and moving Buffalo up. That's where the trajectory is going between these two teams. And I think it's legit. It's not fake, meaning it's not randomness. It's not luck. They're not winning with mirrors. They're getting it done the way this team was built to get it done. And Marco nailed it. The difference maker in this game isn't going to be on the offensive side of the ball. It's going to be on the defensive side of the ball. That's what's going to make the difference. Let's end the suspense again. This is a premium play for me. I released the 4% play on Buffalo +3. I would still bet them at +2.5. I would use them in a. They're not the best teaser bet because of the high total, obviously, and they're a road team. But again, they fall under that one. You're going through 3, you're going through 7. So I definitely would use them in a teaser if you like teasing. But I don't think you need the extra points. Again, that's the only reason you should play teasers. Historically, I would never back a team like Buffalo in this spot. Here's why. They scored 30-plus points 3 straight weeks in a row and covered all 3 of those. They scored 40-plus points in back-to-back weeks and covered both of those. So they are plus over 65 points ATS, meaning their margin, how they've outperformed the betting market, over 65 points above what the market thought they were capable of doing. A team like that is bound to regress, or more importantly, even if they don't, they're going to come in overvalued. So it's just going to be an astronomical number for them to cover, making it difficult. That's how the books are going to manage that risk. Now, fortunately for us, they're playing Kansas City on the road, and there's a history of Kansas City being good over the last couple seasons. There's a history of Kansas City having a strong home field advantage, like Kelly touched on. And then there's a history, like Marco touched on, of Kansas City taking care of Buffalo when it really matters. They beat them twice last season and in the playoffs, more importantly. Because of that perfect storm, we're getting a good team like Buffalo in a spot where they would be so overvalued. In fact, they may not be undervalued, but they're definitely not overvalued at +2.5 or +3. So for me, I like the Buffalo Bills. I think it's a good spot for them. I think defensively is going to be the difference maker. Again, it doesn't matter who they did it to. They did it to 2 NFL teams. They shut out Miami and they shut out Houston. Shutting out 2 NFL teams is very difficult. They held Washington to 21. They held Pittsburgh to 23. This defense is legit, where on the Kansas City side, they've allowed 30, 36, 29. That's what their season has been. Sure, they're 2-2 because they could put up 40 points most weeks, but not against this Buffalo defense. And when the offense can't put up 40, this team doesn't win football games. We saw that already. So give me Buffalo on the road plus the points.
I love to see it. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, I've got some bad news for you guys.
Sign up for the free WagerTalk text club to gain access to free plays and exclusive discounts. Just text WagerTalk to 33222 to sign up and get a $10 coupon to use on WagerTalk.com.
Well, I said I was going to have bad news, and here's the bad news. The guy with the pin is gone this week, and that means no TNA. I wanted to bother Ralph and be like, Ralph, you've got to give me something so I can give to our listeners. And he said, don't worry, Kel, I'll be back next week. So we're just going to skip the TNA segment this week and head right into Survivors. So since Ralph isn't here to give out a Survivor pick, I'm going to give out one. I'm on the Vikings. Why? Scary. It's absolutely and utterly terrifying. I'm not going to go with the big number on Tampa Bay. And I did consider the Ravens as well, but this is the only spot to use the Vikings. And in my Survivor spreadsheet, fading the Lions has worked out so well, which probably means Kirk Cousins is going to throw 3 interceptions, and I'm going to lose this week in Survivor. Marco, who do you have this week in Survivor?
Well, Ralph did text me a Survivor pick, but I told him, you lost last week. You're not surviving anymore. But we still want to hear what his play was. And he was with you, Kelly, on Minnesota as well for his Survivor pick. And Kelly, I came down to 2 plays, which one I was going to use this week. And yeah, Minnesota would be the game theory play because not a lot of, places the way they're playing that I would trust using Minnesota. And, by default, going against the Lions is usually a good thing. But every once in a while, the Lions have that game. And this is a division game. And you know what? I know that, Coach Zimmer and you have, had a history. He scares me this year, Kelly. He's not getting the job done. So I didn't go the Minnesota route. I went with Tampa. Yeah, I know that's almost a free pass, and I'm going to use one of my big guns. But you know what? I just don't feel comfortable with anybody else this week. So this is one of those ones where I'm going to take the obvious play. I haven't used them yet. Let's go Tampa and get the win and move on to the next week. Surviving.
There you go. Survive in advance, Marco. VR, who is your survivor for NFL Week 5?
Yeah, you guys know I don't do the Survivor contest. So here's what I did for you guys is I did the power rating wise. I think these teams are in the best position to win the game straight up. So the 4 teams, if you haven't used, I would choose between these: Tampa, Vegas, Dallas, and Baltimore. In the spots they're in, if you haven't used any of those 4 teams, you may want to look at them.
All right, good news for me is I am going to do
Tampa, Vegas,
one
Dallas,
Ravens.
Baltimore.
Okay, I was going to say I am going to do one Ravens. I have one of my Office Football League. I still have 4 left. So the fact that I can do a little mix and match there, because I don't have to pick Christmas or Thanksgiving. That's kind of the hard part about the Vegas contest is trying to save certain ones for certain weeks. Throws a little wrench into things. But we're going to move right along into teasers. I basically already told you guys on Twitter on Tuesday, I'm teasing the Bills. I'm teasing the Ravens. I'm teasing the Vikings. I'm teasing the Browns. Give me all of the Wong teasers for Week 5. Marco, who is your teaser for this week?
Yeah, Kelly, they got to come up with, the guy that had the theory for the teasers, Wong. You never want to say, give me Wong. I don't want to be Wong. I want to be right. And I'll tell you one thing I haven't been right with, Kelly, is anything involving the LA Chargers this year, going with or against. I'm 0 for the season with them. So you know what? I'm not going to give a play on that game as a straight play, but man, I am getting involved in the teaser. And I just don't see the Chargers being able to get separation from Cleveland. They're playing a good defense. They're playing a team that should be able to run the football against the Chargers. And when the Browns' running game is working, Baker Mayfield is a totally different quarterback. And I got to say, for the Chargers, what do they got in the tank? They just came off of 2 huge games. They went on the road and beat Kansas City. And I thought that might take a little wind out of their sails, being all fat and sassy after beating KC on the road. They came home. It was a Monday night game. My mistake. They were pumped up. It was a division game, and the Raiders shot themselves in the foot a couple times. But now, can they get up a 3rd week in a row? I don't think so. So, yes, Cleveland is my teaser. It's the classic teaser through all the numbers. That's the first half. The second half, I don't have to say anymore. We talked about Buffalo at length. We're teasing Buffalo, plus the points, getting them up to the 8.5. My teaser of the week is Cleveland and Buffalo. Let's get it home.
I love it. I have that same one as well. VR, who is your teaser for this week?
Yeah, and don't forget, the one teaser will change as lines move. Now, that's why on Sunday, when I remember, I like to tweet out based on where the close is, what the final one was. Because again, if you could get some in earlier in the week, if you made advantageous bets, even if come Sunday, they no longer fall under that one. That's the key here. And why I say you only tease through those numbers is because you don't need it otherwise. And a perfect example is if you have a -7 favorite, you don't tease it down to -1. Long term, you'll either win or lose just as much money by laying that 7, it was -110, than if you tease it down to -1 on a teaser. That's just the math of it. You will not gain any edge by taking those 6 extra points on a number like 7 down to 1. If you're better off just laying that 7 at -110, that's why you use the 6 points to get through that 3 and 7. The 4 teams, as we go to taping, that fit right now: Seattle, Washington, Cleveland, Buffalo. Obviously, I don't like Seattle because I'm on the Rams, even though they fit. Buffalo, I like, but I would use. They have a high total, so for me, I don't think there's a lot of teaser value there. Washington and Cleveland appear on paper to offer the most teaser value. They have the lowest totals, Washington of 44, Cleveland of 47. The problem is I don't like Washington. I like the Saints in that game. But those are 2 completely different bets. So if you're grading me on the show, I would say Buffalo, Cleveland. But if I'm forced to bet a plus EV bet, like what I think is in the best interest of a bettor, it would obviously be Washington, Cleveland. That's the most advantageous teaser to place this week. Even though I do think Cleveland Buffalo has a higher probability of cashing, I don't think the edge it gives me is greater than in the Washington Cleveland game. If that doesn't make sense to you, rewind it and play it a few times. That is the whole essence of betting, figuring that little piece of that puzzle out. Because again, they're 2 completely different bets. So I'll go Washington, Cleveland.
Washington, Cleveland, Cleveland, Buffalo. There's going to be all sorts of different opportunities this week. We are going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to figure out which dogs the guys like, because this week in NFL has some really short little dogs, and I want to know who's barking.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at WagerTalk.com. All daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including $40 5% best bets. As an added bonus, all new users will receive $25 in wager bucks credited to their accounts, available for immediate use after their initial $9 Monday purchase. So make sure to take advantage of $9 Mondays at WagerTalk.com.
Have you checked out all the new handicappers at WagerTalk? If not, here's your chance. You can take 50% off your first daily or 3-day all-access purchase at WagerTalk using coupon code TRYWT. Our new roster of experts is 30 deep, covering sports from all around the world, giving you tons of options to choose from. All you have to do to redeem this offer is go to WagerTalk.com, choose a handicapper of your choice, and use coupon code TRYWT at checkout, saving 50% on your first purchase.
Welcome back to Bet On It. It's time for the guys to help me cherry pick a couple of these dogs. There's so many this week that have caught my eye, but I'm just very indecisive after going 0-3 last week in the NFL. Marco, can you put some of these dogs on my radar?
Well, Kelly, I hope you like ugly ones, because I got an ugly one for you this week, and that is the San Francisco 49ers. Yeah, we don't know if it's going to be Jimmy G or it's going to be Trey Lance. So why am I picking the game? Well, I'll tell you, it doesn't matter to me. I'll get to the second part of that first. Let's start why I'm here. Last week, I was all over Arizona. The reason for it was the Rams were coming off a monster win. It was their statement game. They beat Tampa Bay, who was everybody's odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl, and they beat them soundly. Now they were taking on an undefeated Arizona team that you said, hey, they should show up and be focused, but everybody was pointing out Arizona didn't play anybody, and it was their statement game. They caught a fat and sassy Ram team. Well, now that fat and sassy team is the Arizona Cardinals, because they went in to LA and just smacked the snot out of the Rams. They took control of that game. Rams scored first 3-0, and that was it. It was all Arizona after that. So I'm going to go ahead this week and go against the fat and sassy team. This Arizona team has had a history of not delivering as a favorite. In fact, the last 3 seasons, they're just 1-8 as a home favorite. That's good for me. And what about the quarterback situation? Well, if it's Jimmy G, that's good. He's the starter. He's the better of the two. If it's not Jimmy G, it's going to be Trey Lance. Why do I want any part of that? Well, one, it kicks in the injured player theory. We talk about that numerous times. Teams that have a star player out, that first game, we ride them. Why? The line's inflated. 2, the rest of the team plays at a higher intensity level because they know they got to compensate for the loss of the superstar. I don't know if we'll go superstar with Jimmy G. Let's just call him the star. But if it is Trey Lance, and I know he didn't look that great when he came in last week, but there were rave reviews with him in the preseason. And I know preseason doesn't translate to the regular season, but what does translate is if it's him, he's got all of the snaps this week. He'll be better prepared. 2, he'll have a game plan that's designed for him, not Jimmy G. And it'll be the first time he starts a game. Remember when Justin Herbert started for the first time and nobody knew what to be prepared for? Well, that's what you got with Trey Lance. You really don't have film on him. Yeah, he played the second half last week, but again, it was a game plan for Jimmy G, not him. I like that advantage. I'll go ahead and take the injured San Francisco 49ers plus the points against a very fat and sassy Arizona Cardinals this week. Give me San Fran. And if you want to be bold, this NFC West, let's go ahead and call it San Fran 27-24.
Ooh, Marco and I did not plan on this, obviously, because we don't talk too much before the show, but Marco and I are seeing eye to eye this week, which is going to be really good or really bad. All right, VR, who are you on? I just know Marco's laughing off the screen. So is VR because I keep feeling like regression's coming and it started on Sunday. That being said, VR, who is your barking dog this week?
It's not coming. No such thing. It doesn't have to come that instantly. You could slowly go from 80% down to 60% with a couple, 6 and 4 weeks. They could win. Don't worry about that. Just keep doing what you're doing. Focus on the task at hand. The results always are going to take care of themselves. We know one thing in the NFL. You want to get out to a lead, you're going to win football games. You get a lead in the halftime, you're going to win a lot more football games. Unfortunately, that didn't happen for Carolina last week. Even though they went in the halftime ahead on Dallas on the road, Dallas comes in the third quarter, scores 20 points, and next thing you know, they run away with the game and end up covering. But what does that show us is just how many holes this Dallas defense still has. Because, again, that was a Carolina team that was missing some key components. Dallas is a little bit overvalued here. And number one, you expected it over the last couple of weeks. The regression for their ATS run has to come. You can't keep outperforming the betting market, being high profile, unless you truly are that much better. Like if you have that New England where the metrics actually are better than what the market thinks, then you can outperform it for a while. I don't think Dallas has that, and I'm a fan. They're just not there yet defensively. It's offensively, yes, they're going to put up points. We know that. But you're going to give up points too. And it's not a team comfortable laying a lot of points, except for, this is the most they've given all season long. And this is what I talk about all the time, that markets are set up to be efficient. And the definition of an efficiency in a market is the ability to correct itself. And that's what we're seeing here. That doesn't mean that the Giants are going to go out there and cover this game, but I am 100% certain that I'm getting more points than I should. And in fact, the fact that the line is moving in my direction, that the look ahead was 8.5, and now it's at the key 7, supports my claim even more so, makes me even more comfortable that I'm right in my thesis. So I have to bet it. I'm on the Giants, man. I took the 7.5 with the Giants. I'd still give it out at 7, but again, I gave it out when it was 7.5 and got to throw out some gold. I was debating between them and the Miami Dolphins because I also gave out the Dolphins at plus 10.5, and you could still get 10 on Miami if you agree with me there. But for the show, we'll use the New York Giants to surprise some teams again. They did it last week with the Saints. See if they could do it again. Let's sprinkle.
Ooh, love those divisional underdogs. I like that Dolphins play too. I'm going to be at that game. And I text everybody in the group. I said, how many Bucs fans are going to be mad at me if I'm holding the Dolphins plus 10 ticket? Just win by a touchdown. Is that so much to ask? We are headed over to figure out whether the deli's back open, Marco. I'm kind of hungry. It's a little late here. I haven't eaten yet. Please tell me you have a nice sandwich for us.
Well, Kelly, I'm always hungry, as you know that. So we're going to the deli, double dip in the deli this week, both college and NFL. And we're going to go to the deli and take the Carolina Panthers. And BR just mentioned the Carolina Panthers in his last game there, losing to Dallas. You know what? Carolina showed me a lot of moxie in that game where they fell way behind. They could have just rolled over and died and wait till next week, but they kept fighting in that game. It made it tough for Dallas. Dallas had to keep scoring, made it close. And I look at it this week, and we're going against the Philadelphia Eagles. Why? Well, the knee-jerk reaction for the public is going to be, wow, look at that. They put up 460 yards against the Kansas City Chiefs. Wow, they should be able to handle staying with Carolina. Well, the difference is Kansas City has no defense. That's one. Two, they're coming off 2 monster games. If you remember, the week before, they played on Monday Night Football at Dallas. Dallas's home opener on TV, the big stage. And they lost that game, but still it was a big game. Then they had to turn around and play Kansas City, another big game on a short week. And now they travel to Carolina. Not happy about that for them with the travel schedule. Why? Who do they play next week? When we do a sandwich, it's all about what you just did and what you're doing next. They got Tampa Bay and Tom Brady coming to the city of brotherly love. That's a look-ahead spot big time. I'm going to go ahead and go with Carolina here. And the difference with Carolina, they can play some defense. If you look who Philadelphia has played so far, they played Atlanta, no defense. San Francisco, okay, good defense, decent. They lost that game 17-11. They played Dallas with no defense. And they played Kansas City with no defense. They're going to find the going much tougher today with that offense. I like Carolina. Lay the points. I've got Carolina winning 24-16.
I have a feeling that I'm going to end up on that game as well. Marco, stop trying to get in my head with some of these games I already have on my list. I basically had already written this Panthers team off. And then my partners texted me this morning and said, Kelly, we're going to drop Jameis and pick up Sam Darnold. So that being said, I now have Sam Darnold on my fantasy team, which is going to be another thing I have to root for now on Sunday. VR Steam game every single week has been amazing. We appreciate you sharing your gold. So please give us your Steam game for NFL Week 5, and maybe the Leprechaun pays us a visit here.
Yeah, I'm gonna share as much gold as possible, and the legit stuff that I'm actually betting as well. Not stuff that I'm not 100% sure yet if they're going to come back the other side, if they're setting up manipulation. We'll get to that, and remind me towards the end. I even have some UFC that I'll share because I owe the people some winners. I know I failed you in college football so far this season in the show, but I gave a lot of golf there this week too. So hopefully I win in college and gave a little bonus. So let's carry it over here real quickly. Steam play. First, I'll share. I can't use Minnesota because the Lions moved a little bit too much. We bet Minnesota -7. Another group came in and took them even at -7.5. That's when I really considered still using them because you're looking at some dead numbers after that if they think there's still value there. And personally, again, I need to confirm it that I still think that's the value sign. And just my power ratings just don't show that Minnesota should be a 10-point favorite in that spot. That's where I find the difficulty. So instead of using that, I'm going to use this as the steam play. that I released, 4% play, and it's a total, square as it comes, and that's the Jets in Atlanta over 46. Started betting it at 44 and 45, 45 and a half, and then 46. There's a 45 and a half at South Point. Everywhere else is 46. I'm surprised it's not 46 and a half, 47 so far. Again, it sounds square, but here's where we're getting lucky. That at least so far throughout this season, you're looking at overall, they haven't been the most over teams. Otherwise, we'd be looking at a higher total. Fortunately, the Jets are 1-3 to the under. But that's that 2-week stretch where they had the Denver and New England that held them to 6 points. You'll see when the season progresses, that's going to change, like their points per game. This is where you could take advantage of that outlier. Right now, the Jets are averaging 11.8 points per game. Rest assured, I will bet right now, I'll lay minus 200 that when the season comes to a close, the Jets will be averaging more than 11.8 points per game. Those kind of skewed analytics are where, as a bettor, I'm looking for value. Again, no one's going to share with you the stuff they've confirmed as predicted, because that's everyone's edge. Well, no one is, whether it's with MMA, that one predictive metric that I keep in my pocket, or whether it's any other sport. But there are concepts that you need to pay attention to that should lead you down the right road. And this is one of them, where you have an outlier situation where the Jets, this far into the season, just 4 or 5 weeks in, have scored so below average. The next team is Miami, who is 4 or 5 points higher. Again, that's just an outlier. This will change. So we know we have the Jets side undervalued. And then Atlanta, I don't think we're going to have any problems getting Atlanta to put up a couple points and letting up points. That defense is horrific. But at least the offense with Ryan's going to get you some points. Give me the over 46. I'm comfortable betting it as square as it is. And again, we also bet Minnesota, but at a better number. So be cautious there.
All right. Glad to hear that everything I was kind of doubting on or letting myself get in my own head this week on is being confirmed by two of my favorite guys. I love to see it. We are going to take a quick commercial break, but when we return, it's time for those best bets.
Why pay regular price when you can save money on every purchase with WagerBucks at both WagerTalk and Sports Memo? WagerBucks are now eligible for use on not just daily, 3-day, and 7-day passes, but all long-term and seasonal packages up to 1 full year. There are tons of options available for every budget and size of bettor, from as low as $90 gets $100, all the way up to $3,500 gets you $5,000. Save every day on every pick you buy with WagerBucks.
Tuesdays is known as $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, where you can get the hottest handicappers' best bet or daily package for only $2.
Welcome back to Bet On It. It is time for best bets. And I'm going to go first. I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills here for all the reasons why VR and Marco already explained, but more importantly, we're getting a little too many points here. Plus 2.5, I understand. Kansas City, great home field advantage. Kansas City Chiefs, one of the better offenses we've seen in the modern NFL era. Just one problem. One of the worst defenses I've seen this year. And if your goal is to just consistently outscore your opponents to win games, a couple of those lock steps are going to cost you the game, as we've already seen from this Chiefs defense this year. I got to take the Bills here. Got him in a teaser, got him plus 2.5, but I'm probably even going to put a little bit on that plus 125. Marco, what is your best bet for NFL Week 5?
Well, Kelly, full disclosure, we've kicked ass this year in the NFL, except my best bet here on the show. And, thank you to the guys on Twitter whenever I go 3-1 on the show, but all I get is the tweet about my best bet. I love you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you. We're not using the Chargers in this segment, so we're live. We're going to go with an ugly one, though, and I'll be honest with you, Kelly. When I do my games, I put all my games in categories. I handicap, this is a sandwich spot. This is a trap spot. This is a barking dog. Best bet. I had Cincinnati in like 3 different categories for the show. I could have used it as a trap. I could have used it as a barking dog, but I'm making it the best bet. The reason I could have used it as a trap, when you just look at this game and you say Green Bay -3 at Cincinnati, for all the, I like to refer to them as John Q. Public. Don't take any offense to that, but it's the guys that'll be in the sports book on Sunday morning. It'll be the guys that I'll be playing poker with all week at nights when I'm watching the games, talking about, oh my God, Green Bay -3. That's like stealing. Yeah, it's not. Okay. In some of the sharp books, and maybe VR can confirm this too, far away, they've got Green Bay -3, and they're giving you reduced juice on laying the 3 with Green Bay. That confirms it even more for me that Cincinnati is the side here, because everybody's going to look and say, hey, they saw them play last Thursday night. They could almost lost to Jacksonville. They honestly should have. If Urban Meyer kicks the field goal before halftime instead of going for it on 4th down, they're up 17-0, changes the whole complexion of the game. Instead, they gave momentum to Cincinnati coming out at second half, and Cincinnati was able to rally, tie it, and win the game in overtime. I like them this week. The reason I do, hey, they were in a bad spot last week. They were playing on a short week. Yeah, it was Jacksonville, and I was all over Cincinnati in teasers, Cincinnati Survivor, because we had a rookie quarterback on a short week. I didn't put enough emphasis on the fact that Cincinnati was going to come out flat after beating the Pittsburgh Steelers. Even though my Steelers suck, and if you listen to any of the shows we've done this year, I predicted that way back in August. This was going to be a bad year for the Steelers. But for the teams that are playing them, especially Cincinnati, Pittsburgh's dominated that division for so long that when they got a chance to beat them and run up the score and win in Pittsburgh, that's a big deal to them. Now it's a big deal this week with Green Bay coming to town. Green Bay's defense can be beat, and I like the Cincinnati offense. Do I like their defense? Well, that's another story, but I think they're going to be able to go toe-to-toe with Green Bay this week, and I like them to pull the upset. And as far as Green Bay goes, they're coming off that Sunday night game against San Francisco and then play Pittsburgh, again, a name that's, a big name in the past. And then next week, who do they got? They got a division rival, Chicago, on the road. This is the least important game on the schedule for a team. I've talked about this numerous times. Remember that. Road games against non-conference teams is the last game on the list at the end of the season when you're looking at tiebreaker stuff for playoffs. I'll take Cincinnati. That is my best bet. Might have to hold your nose going to the window to place that bet. But as I always say, some of the best bets are the toughest ones to call. Take Cincinnati.
Absolutely, Marco. And a good friend of mine told me a long time ago, you don't get rich betting short road favorites. And that is exactly what this one looks like. I will be on the Bengals as well. VR, please let the audience know who your best bet is for this week.
Yeah, and first off, real quickly, I agree 100% with Marco. In fact, I have it power rated where Green Bay shouldn't even be 3 on a neutral against Cincinnati, let alone in Cincinnati. Love the bet, Marco. You're all over it. You're on the right side, win or lose, and you got the best of it. Real quickly, I know I'm not crushing it on the show, but I'm always honest, whether I win or whether I lose. Going into today, over the last 365 days, I'm number 1 in profit, still at WagerTalk overall, and still in the NFL over the last 365 days, number 1 in profit. Take that how you wish. Use the information. It's on you, whether you follow or fade. I'm going to go to the New Orleans Saints, and here's why. There's nothing better as a sports bettor or an investor when you're watching your thesis play out in real time. Meaning, like with crypto, watching that thesis of me getting rid of my every precious metals and equities and putting it all in the crypto, and watching that thesis play out, that the adoption is going to go from 1% to 2%. Now we're at 2.5%, and me trusting it's going to get to 5%, then 10% adoption. Watching that play out's amazing. Seeing it in football play out is the same way. And that's what we got with the Saints. I said before the season, there's no bigger loss than Drew Brees to all of the NFL this year, even though last season he wasn't that prototypical Drew Brees quarterback, meaning his career stats compared to last year's stats, not the same, as the best way I can put it. He wasn't throwing 60-yard bombs. With all that said, it was his value that he brought to the team, to the franchise, to the clubhouse, to the practice field, to the meetings, to everything else, to the other 90% that matters that this team lacks. And that's what we're seeing play out in real time. There's no consistency to what they do because they don't have that leader there. With Drew Brees, they would not have lost that game in overtime to the Giants. That wouldn't have happened. These are the differences. That's what you get with the Saints, inconsistency. Now they're playing a Washington team where they're overvalued. That's what this number tells me, because the Saints should be a much bigger favorite. It's just they're coming off that ugly game against the Giants where they lose as over touchdown favorites. Or otherwise, they would be at least a field goal favorite, that key 3 against the Giants, against Washington, but they're not. And then you have Washington coming off, a win against Atlanta. Bottom line is this. Washington's defense, I get it, is legit. But we're seeing some cracks, and teams are putting up points. Over the last 3 weeks, they gave up 30 to Atlanta, 43 to Buffalo, and 29 to the New York Giants. I think you're going to see success on the offensive side from the Saints. That's where they've had problems. And remember, like I said with the Jets, we have an outlier metric with the Saints, and that's their passing yards. Look at what they've done this year. They're averaging only 144 passing yards per game. Come week 17, I will lay minus 200 again that it's above 144. In fact, right now they sit 100 yards, almost 50% less than the NFL average. They're going to improve off that number. For me, those are the misleading metrics that I like to take advantage of. And against a Washington overrated defense, I think this undervalued Saints offense is going to have success. A little inconsistent, but they're not asking me to cover a touchdown. I bet them on the money line, and here's why. Because if I could lay minus 130 on a team that I think has high probability of going off as a 3-point favorite, that's a hell of a great bet. So again, I'm not nervous laying 1.5 or 2 that's out there, but my goal is to place the best bet I can and the spot that offers the most value. And to me, it's laying 130 on the money line offers me more value than laying the 2 at minus 110. Again, that's a little old school thinking. Grew up as a mover out here, and that's what we used to be asked to do. So I just follow those things. Now, whether a decade later, 2 decades, the analytics have changed a little, or the math, I don't know. But it's worked for me successfully, and, numbers don't lie. So give me Washington as the best bet. And real quick, if you're betting MMA this week, you may want to look to Mackenzie Dern in the main event. She's a minus 160, 65 favorite. I know you don't like chalk. She should be a lot higher chalk, that's for sure. If you like underdogs, I got a plus 220 for you, but you got to know going in. Again, I'm comfortable looking like a fool. And when you take plus 220s, plus 300s, you're going to look like a fool 5 out of 10 times, 6 out of 10 times. But as long as you cash 4 out of 10, you're going to make a lot of money long term. And I think I found a spot there with Felipe Colares plus 220. So we're going to take Mackenzie Dern in the main event. And then in the undercard, we're going to take Felipe Colares at plus 220. That's what we got for Saturday's UFC. But more importantly, Saints on Sunday, best bet.
Thank you for reiterating that, VR, because you did say Washington, but he is on the Saints, and I appreciate him talking me off of the Washington football team. I thought that Saints line looked a little trappy, when in fact, it's just a little short. We're going to take our last commercial break, but when we come back, it's time for the recap.
Have you checked out all the new handicappers at WagerTalk? If not, here's your chance. You can take 50% off your first daily or 3-day all-access purchase at WagerTalk using coupon code TRYWT. Our new roster of experts is 30 deep, covering sports from all around the world, giving you tons of options to choose from. All you have to do to redeem this offer is go to WagerTalk.com, choose a handicapper of your choice, and use coupon code TRYWT at checkout. saving 50% on your first purchase.
Thank you to everybody hanging out with us here on Bet On It. Now we're going to run through this week's card. VR says he likes the Rams on the money line on Thursday night and the over 54.5. Marco is on the Rams as well. I am on Seattle in the teaser, which means we can all win. Sunday night, we're all three on the Buffalo Bills, which is also my best bet. We've got some survivor picks. I'm on Minnesota. Ralph's on Minnesota. Marco is on Tampa Bay, and VR kind of told you his top four. That being said, we're going to talk teasers. I gave out every single possible scenario, but the guys say Cleveland is a must-use. VR is also on the Washington football team +8, and Marco is on Buffalo +8.5. The team game this week is the over 46 in the Jets-Falcons game. Sandwich, the deli is still open, and that is the Carolina Panthers, the team that let me down last week as my best bet. Marco says, don't give up on them just yet. They are the play this week. We've got some barking dogs as well. That is the New York Giants +7 and the Niners +5.5. I might do a little moneyline parlay with those two. And no, that doesn't say no best bet. That is New Orleans moneyline for VR -130 and Cincinnati +3 for Marco. Again, like VR likes to say, guys, go over there, hit that smash that like button. Hit that, yeah, that's what I meant. Hit that like button, jump in the comments, tell us whether you think I should get rid of the recap or not. I asked you guys that in the college football show. Kind of hate how you guys don't have to watch and take notes like I do all show. You see this? That's all I do. Take notes, you learn things. That is our goal here on Bet On It, to make you a better. Until next time, let's bet on it.